Welcome to the Love and Sex Today show with Dr. Doug Weiss. Doug has been healing hearts and relationships for decades. He's helped thousands of people release the shame and the guilt, restoring hope, helping people get free from addictions to enjoy a better sex and love life. Here he is, your host, Dr. Doug Weiss.
Welcome to Love and Sex Today podcast. I'm Dr. Doug Weiss, and I'll be your host on Volume 1 of Love and Sex Today. Today's a special day. It's our first show, so this is Volume 1. And you might want to ask, why do I want to do a podcast? I mean, I've been counseling men and women for over 30 years. For the last 15 years, they've been flying and coming into my office to have better relationships, have a better sex life, how to get free from addictions of all kinds. And in these sessions, when I'm sitting heart to heart with another person, another soul, and they get an idea, they get a new paradigm, they get a new tool, this radically changes their life. I mean, almost instantaneously, they get the aha and they start doing life differently. This happens every week. I mean, I'm sitting in my office right now, and just today, there was a lady who got an incredible insight and changed her life. I mean, it's amazing. And so I thought, what if we can give these ideas, these paradigms, these tools, this medicine away to a large group of people and do it for free? I thought, well, that'd be awesome, because then we could help people all over the world have better relationships, have a great sex life. I mean, that's a great thing to have. And also to be free from the chains that maybe are keeping them in some bondage of addiction. You know, I'm a recovering person. I've been recovering from alcohol and drugs for over 30 years, sexual addiction for over 30 years, caffeine, sugar. I mean, I know what it's like to be in bondage. I know what it's like to be free. Free is so much better. And we see that every day in my office. And I'm hoping in this podcast that we'll get emails from you and saying, hey, that idea helped me. You know, help me have a better relationship. Help me have a better sex life tonight, which we'll get into today. And so that's why I'm taking time out of my day. That's why I'm doing the podcast. I want you to have an awesome life. I want you to be able to enjoy your relationships. I want you to have freedom. If you've been in bondage to some kind of addictive behavior, or you tried and tried again, and you cried and cried again, but you can't stop. If I can help you stop, if I can help you get an idea or a tool that can move you to the next place of freedom in your life, oh my gosh, that would make everything that we do as a team to bring this podcast to you totally worthwhile. Now, today's topic in Volume 1 is having better sex tonight, guaranteed. I'm going to give you 3 tips to have an amazing sex life. And I thought, you know, when you label a show, you know, Love and Sex Today, you know, should we talk about love on the first show? Yes, maybe. Or should we talk about sex? And, you know, the people I talk to, like, you should probably talk about sex, because people want to have a great sex life and then, you know, get into all the other topics. And I'm like, you know what? I can do that. I can give a man or woman who's listening to me, whether they're jogging on their computer, and say these 3 simple ideas can take your sex to another level tonight. I mean, today. You know, as soon as you can get connected to your sex partner and have a great time, you can have a great sex life. Now, when I'm talking about sex, because, you know, we're going to talk about this, and I want you to have mind-blowing sex. I want your wife or husband to be crazy, happy, and all that kind of stuff. But before I get into how, I need to have a much bigger conversation. I need to have a conversation about sex, you know, because we're going to do so many shows on sex. We're going to do so many shows on relationships. I mean, I've got at least 50 or 60 outlined that we want to get to, because we want you to have those ideas. We want you to be improved. We want you to go, wow, I never thought of it that way before. That makes sense to me. Or I'm not sure that will work, Dr. Weiss, but, you know, I'll give it a shot. What do I got to lose? And then, of course, we get the emails of like, wow, that was really amazing. And this is going to be one of those shows that's going to be like, wow, I never tried sex this way before, but like, wow, that was awesome. And don't worry, when I'm talking about sex, I have a high value of sexuality. I'm a psychologist, okay? So, you know, right there, that tells you a little bit about me, but probably not a lot. But I spent a lot of time studying. I mean, I went to school for 10 years, okay? And studying humans, studying that we are really amazing creatures, you know? And on a personal side, I mean, I've been married for over 30 years, happily married to Lisa. totally been faithful to her. I love her with all my heart. She's a great lover, friend, and helper and partner and CFO of my company. And she's awesome. Okay. So when I'm talking about sex, I'm talking about kind of a relational sex inside of a context of a relationship. I'm not talking about the kind of baseless, mindless, just body sex that you might get on another radio show or you might get in a porn magazine. For the last 30 years, I've been helping people who got their ideas out of porn magazines get a better life, get a better sex life, be happier, be more emotionally developed, be more spiritually developed, be more financially successful. You won't believe, I work with sexual addiction most of my life. I've written many books on that. And you won't believe that when a man or a woman actually arrests the sex addiction in their life, they double or more than double their income if they're business owners, salespeople, entrepreneurs, or something like that. So this sexuality thing is a big part of who we are. It affects all of who we are. Our emotions, our spirit, our financial, our social, our friendships, our marriage, our relationships, even how we parent. And so as a psychologist, I really am in awe and privileged to look at the complexity of a person's soul and spirit and their body, because we talk about sex, we'll get into this in other shows, but, even just the hormone balance and other things like that can make such a big difference in your life. So I'm not talking about the kind of sex that maybe two bears might have or two giraffes or two dogs might have, because we're way more evolved than that. We should expect more of ourselves. We do in every area of life. No one says, hey, you know what? I want to grow up and be like a dog. My highest goal is to be able to think like a bear and just walk around and hopefully a fish shows up. And, I don't really have any aspirations or dreams. I just want to kind of crawl around. Nowhere in our lives do we want to be like animals, except in the area of sexuality. There's this whole genre out there that says, hey, just be an animal. If it feels good, do it. Well, if it feels good, you might not want to do it because it might not work out for you and it might not be helpful for either one of you. And so when I'm talking about sex, I want you to know I have an honor of sexuality. And as we talk over the many, many shows that we have outlined and planned, you're going to get a feeling when I talk about sex. I'm talking about making love. I'm not talking about, just physical sex. Now I know that, married couples, every once in a while, they'll have what they call that short session. They all have their cute names for it. And I understand that, but I'm talking about generally making love is such a better thing. It's such a higher quality that as humans, we can aspire to. We actually can obtain a really phenomenal, satiating sex life that fulfills you, not just physically releases you, but you feel fulfilled. You feel like almost like you had sometimes I feel so zapped. My mind is gone. My body can't do anything. I'm just like, wow. Okay. And not emptied but actually fulfilled. Okay. And so when I'm talking about sexuality, I'm talking about that kind of relational sexuality. Now, as I said, I work with people with sexual addictions. They fly from all over the country, all over the world. They come here, they get better, they get free, they get sober every single week. It's an amazing thing. But here's one of the things I've learned from them, because I learn a lot from my clients and I learn from people in general all the time. But one of the things I learned from them is most of them learned how to have sex as an object. They learned to have sex with a fantasy world. They learned to have sex with pornography. And they've done this hundreds, if not thousands of times before their first relationship where sex was a part of the relationship. And oftentimes because of their sexual conditioning, and you want to catch the Sex in the Brain show we're going to do. So that'll be down the road a little bit, but we're going to do a great show on sex in the brain. Don't have time today to get into that with you, but it's an amazing thing. But these young people, young men, and I was one of them, young men and young women, they get into pornography, fantasy, and self-behavior. What happens is they condition themselves that they can only be sexual in an altered state or in a fantasy state. And so even with a real person, the real person can't get them to a place of orgasm because they're conditioned to be in an altered state. So even if they're with a real person, they have to go to a fantasy or porn magazine in their brain and access that to be able to be sexual. And that is so sad. And millions of people are stuck in an object relationship sexuality where they have to fantasize to be able to be sexual with a real person. Real people are amazing. Okay, if you're fully engaged, they're more than enough. But oftentimes, people don't know how to be fully engaged sexually. So these 3 tips are going to help you engage all of you to be sexual. And when all of you is sexual, then you get that deep, satiated feeling. You get that more than enough. You get that wow. Not like, hey, let's do it again, because there's wow. You just want to just bask in the satisfaction that you're having and that you've had. It's an amazing feeling. I love that feeling. Now, if you can only do object sex, you're going to feel emptied, and you're going to feel like you're not scratching the itch that sexuality can really scratch in your soul and your heart and your spirit. So we're going to talk about having relational sex. We're going to talk about connecting person to person, not just body to body. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, you need to listen to these 3 tips. I'm going to get to them in just a minute, because this can literally transform the way you are sexual. It can transform your ability to move from a sex partner to a lover. Okay. And if you're a man, women want lovers. They want their husband to look into their soul and be present with them. I mean, I've worked with thousands of men and women, and I've had so many women tell me, my husband's gone during sex. I don't know. I could be anybody, and that totally turns women off. And if you're immature in the area of sexuality, it can make the woman really not want to be sexual with you. And so you want to be really, listen to the next few minutes, maybe get a pen and paper now, would be a good idea. So these tips come from my book, The 10-Minute Marriage. Okay. And on the website, loveandsextoday.com, there's going to be a free chapter there. And it's going to be talking about sexuality. So you want to get that free chapter. It's totally there for you. And also, subscribe and make a comment on iTunes, because I'll tell you more about this at the end. But we're going to pick one of you guys, our ladies, at the end of the month, and have an hour conversation with me about anything in your life you want to help you go to the next level. Because I really want to connect with you. I want to see your life better. So that's something that we're going to offer at the end here. So let me get to this, because I know right now you're like, hey, will you please get to the 3 tips, Dr. Weiss? Okay. I am right now. So this is going to amount to about 6 words, and it makes it so easy to remember, but I'm going to take 2 words at a time, and I'm going to explain what I mean, because I know the words, they sound clear, but it's really in practice if you get a little more instruction. So the first 2 words is eyes open. Now, it is very common for people when they are being sexual together to close their eyes. Okay. And it's not uncommon for someone, if they're being orgasmic, to close their eyes just because of the level of intensity. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is in the foreplay portion of sexuality and during sex itself, that you look into each other's eyes. I can't tell you how many countless couples I've worked with. Sometimes they're 50, 60 years old. They've had sex for 20 or 30 years, and they cannot tell me the eye color of their spouse. How sad is that? How tragic is that? Can you imagine being married for 30 years and not knowing what color eyes your wife has or your husband has? Mine has the brightest green with this hue of yellow and drives me crazy. I mean, so you want to have your eyes open. You want to be looking into each other's eyes. Now, let me give you another reason why this is really helpful. I mean, first of all, of course, you're looking at your spouse, so you're connecting to them and attaching to them. And definitely the sex and brain, we'll talk more about that. But the other thing is that if you're actively looking at your spouse or your partner, you're looking them in the eye. Well, what happens is you're being sexual and you're looking at someone. And what happens is your brain is going to be very challenging for you to follow these 3 tips and actually be able to go to a fantasy state. To actually leave your body and go to the altered state or go to the fantasy state, it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to do. You're going to run out of RAM in your brain. So here's what helps you do is it helps you stay present. It helps you stay connected. I mean, when you're inches away from the other person's face and you're looking into their eyes, you can tell what's going on. You are being with them. You're not just having sex. It's like, wow, there you are. My love, my beauty. Wow, I love you, right? I mean, you can, even if you don't say it, which we'll talk about in a second, you're feeling it. It's like, wow, I love just being with you. And if you've never heard that during sex, you want to stay tuned for the next couple minutes, because I'm going to tell you some more stuff. So then the first tip, eyes open. Look at the person you're making love to. Have them look at you. Behold them and be beheld. That beholding experience is so amazing. You do not want to rob yourself of that part of sexuality. Being beheld during sexuality is powerful. The next tip, number 2, lights on. Now, I'm not talking about theatrical lighting. I mean, I've done a lot of TV and they got these big lights everywhere, and that's not what we're talking about. Not every light has to be on in the room. Just a simple candlelight will do. Just enough light that you can look into each other's eyes. Just enough light that you can see your partner's body, and you can enjoy the whole visual experience of each other. You look into each other's eyes, you're looking around each other, you're touching each other. This is a fantastic multi-sense situation, which is powerful. And you want to enjoy every single moment of that. And so you want to be able to have some kind of lights on so that you can see each other. Again, behold and be beheld. It's beautiful. Now, tip number 3 is nurturing conversation. Now, in nurturing conversation, I am not talking about dirty talk. I'm talking about things that have meaning, and another show I'm going to tell you 3 words every woman wants to hear, and 3 words every man wants to hear. And I'm not going to do that today, but you need to learn some of the things your spouse wants to hear. If you don't know what to say, I've got a great book called The 5 Sex Languages. Get that book. Learn your sex language of your spouse. It tells you exactly what to say during sex, exactly what to say during foreplay. But I want you to say kind things, good things. Avoid dirty talk. Avoid 4-letter words that have no meaning. Make words have meaning when you're making love, because those words go deep into your heart of the person you're making love to. And those seeds can grow into very good things for your life, or that silence or negative words can really damage your relationship and heart. So you want to practice these 3 tips tonight or any other time you get to make love. You want to practice them, and you want to keep practicing them. I'll tell you a quick story before we go today. I'll never forget John. He was this huge Texan man, and he walked into my office. Now, he was a sex addict. He cheated on his wife with probably almost 100 prostitutes, so he had plenty of sexual encounters, and he was getting sober from his sexual addiction. I told him about these 3 tips that I'm telling you about today. 3 simple ideas. Eyes open, lights on, nurturing conversation. Start having sex relationally with your wife, John. And he thought I was crazy. He's like, I'll do it because I'm paying you, but so a couple weeks later, he comes walking in my door. He kind of fills up the whole door as he walks in. He's got this big, huge grin on his face. I'm like, John, what's up? He says, well, Dr. Weiss, I'm having the best sex of my life. And he was so happy. He didn't understand that all the sex he was having in his addiction and the prostitutes was object sex. And now he's having this opportunity to connect to his wife emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and actually be in his own body and be present, not disconnected in a disassociated state, but actually present and making love. Well, he was ecstatic. And if you practice these principles, there'll be some ecstaticness in your life, in your relationships. Now, I want you to go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe, and then post a review on iTunes. This is so important, okay? And of those people who post a review on iTunes, 1 person will be selected for a priceless conversation with yours truly, Dr. Doug Weiss, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, just a conversation, how to improve your life in some way. And in any way, business idea, a relationship, whatever you got on your heart, okay? But don't forget your free chapter as well. And as always, have the best love and best sex today.
That's it for our episode of Love and Sex Today with Dr. Doug Weiss. Head on over to loveandsextoday.com and be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes. When you do, and you post a review on iTunes, some lucky listener is going to win every single month a private confidential coaching call with Dr. Doug Weiss. Also, feel free to ask any question you like. You can push a button, speak your question, and Dr. Doug will answer your question in a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Doug's got some great gifts for you, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.